somebody asked me a question today that I was responding to this afternoon, and they said that they were struggling a little bit on race day to kind of like get into the zone. What do they call? They called it something else, but kind of just getting the mindset right for racing. And my response was that the key to be a good racer is that it really you need to be able to shut your brain off. So therefore, it does need to be automatic on race day, or you're going to be overthinking everything. So when people talk about flow, that's what that is. Is it's sort of where like the difficulty of what you're doing is matching the effort that you're exerting, and like you're finding this nice sweet spot where you're not thinking about what you're doing, and that isn't possible without not just reps but correct reps. And I have a lot of people in this community that struggle with that issue of they are still actively racing but trying to make massive changes in their riding at the same time, and so then they go out on race day and it's like this conflict of, oh, well, do I try and do well in the race and get a good result, or am I trying to stick to what I'm supposed to be sticking to technique wise? And you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have both of those things sometimes. And I'm like, well, you don't. Either you've got to just not race for a little bit, or you need to put your ego aside on race day and maybe get 20th instead of 6th. I know that sounds extreme, but the habit that you're trying to, when we're talking about rewiring, if we're going to tie it back into the theme of this live stream, you cannot choose to rewire and form a new habit sometimes when you feel like it, and then do the old habit other times when you decide to make an exception for it, because then you'll always make the exceptions, and then therefore new habit doesn't form. So if for whatever reason, like you make the whatever justification of why your knees should drive forward when they drive forward when you're getting scared in those moments, there's something that hasn't clicked yet to make it a complete 100% habit, which is completely normal. And then that leaves you in a weird situation where one thing happens in the race, and next thing you know, the next 15 laps of you trying to get through those whoops is a disaster because you're thinking about every single whoop as you're hitting them. I've been
Yep.
there. I mean, obviously, we've all been there.
Well, and
Mm.
that's what's
Oh,
what's crazy is it's just like you said, shutting your brain off. Um, I have main events where it's like they go by like that, and I don't really remember a thing about them because it's just I was out there doing my laps, clicking everything off. There was no big mistakes. It was easy, right? Right around, you feel like I could have gotten 12th, but I got 15th because it was just effortless. Which sometimes it makes me mad 'cause it's like, gosh, if I would have just done this a look like if I would have just been, but it's not that I wasn't trying, it's that it was easy because I was flowing. But then I have other mains where you're 5 laps in and you feel like you should be getting the white flag because everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. You have no flow, you have none of this, and you're just thinking about every detail rather than just letting your mind work on its own, if that makes sense.
do you have any pre-race rituals or routines to try and access that zone like on a consistent basis instead of just hoping that it happens?
Yeah, I do. And sometimes it sucks because like I try I'm kind of an a-hole on race day. I'm not a super fun person to be around because I almost feel like I try to lock in. But at the same time, sometimes I get down to the starting line and I'm with some of my best friends that I just love doing this with. So I get out of that zone. Um, and I like start joking around with my friends and I lose focus on what the task is at hand. But um, I trained with Corey Wharf for a few years. He used to train McGrath and Buddy Antunez, and he trains KP still
Mm.
and Luke Neese. And he told me he's like you can sit at the semi all day and joke around, but there needs to be a moment in time when something happens that happens before every race where it's like it's time to lock in. And
Yeah.
I've turned that into when I put my earplugs in. Um, I'm sitting at the rig.
Which takes place when?
I put them in before I put my gloves on because I can't put them in with my gloves on. So it's like
Fair.
when I'm at the rig, whatever, like I'm picking up my helmet, doing all that stuff. Earplugs go in, it's like I'm most likely not talking to my mechanic for the next 15 minutes before the gate drops. Like he might say a few things to me here or there. I might go down to the tunnel and just sit there and watch the big screen by myself. Like those are the days that I ride the best. And it's like I like what happens is I just lock in. But if I go down to the starting line and somebody says something to me and I start joking around with my friends, like I lose focus, and then it's like I have to redo that while I'm riding, which isn't good.
If you guys enjoyed this podcast clip and you want to listen to full episodes, you can do so on Spotify and Apple Music. If you want to send in your own video submission, you can join us in the Moto Academy family inside of the Moto Academy app by just going to themotoacademy.com. That's also where you can sign up for a class. Okay, guys, see you next episode.